Welcome to Prop, Lock, and Drop It, an Action Network show that tells you which props to bet during the NFL playoffs. I'm your host, Tim Kalinowski, and I'm joined by Sean Koerner, Nick Giffen, and Chris Raybon. These fellas, they will each give out two props, and we'll have two rounds here, and I will choose which two I will be locking in to my betting card, and we'll also have a little friendly competition as we go along here to see which analyst finishes with the most units at the end of the NFL playoffs. This is the wild card weekend, so let's get started. 6 games. We have 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 on Monday night. Leading us off, all you guys, you know a thing or two about props. So Koerner, you start us off. What's your first prop?
Yeah, so my first prop is Elijah Moore over 38.5 receiving yards. I took this earlier in the week when it was 29.5. It's gone up quite a bit. Still like it here. Since I took it, Cedric Tillman's been ruled out. Amari Cooper, he could be limited. Even if he plays, he could be limited. Maybe more of a decoy this week. Could set up for even more targets, especially downfield. Like his ADOT with Joe Flacco has been further down the field. He's seeing more targets downfield. So I like his upside here. He's cleared this in 3 of the 5 games with Joe Flacco under center. He's only averaged 44 yards a game in Joe Flacco's 5 starts, but he's left a lot of meat on the bone. He's seen 447 air yards, which ranks 19th in the league. And if you look at the 5 receivers just under him in terms of air yards the last 5 weeks, they've averaged 80 yards a game. So he's clearly, not getting as many yards as you expect. He has a ton of upside here. I'm projecting his median still around like 45.5 with about a 60% chance to clear this number. So I still like Elijah Moore over 38.5 receiving yards. Okay,
noted. In the discovery phase of the trial here, I'll just ask you two your thoughts if any of you have, feel compelled a certain way from Koerner's more over here.
I'd lean over because Flacco's just chucking and ducking. So it's a whole different quarterback than they've had for much of the year.
Yeah, how about you, Nick?
Yeah, I would lean over here as well, plus, indoor games, so that'll definitely help as well. So, you mentioned Flacco chucking and ducking. I think it's going to be more of the same from Joe Flacco.
I'll be honest, I'm a little worried by how much this thing is moved. I don't know if I can endorse that much line movement. That's why you have the Action app. That's why you turn the notifications on. That's why you follow Sean Koerner. So I'm going to keep that in mind as we move on to Nick Giffen, your first prop.
Yeah, so for my first prop, we're going to go to that game, and we're going to take Dalton Schultz under 4.5 receptions. Now, you're going to pay some juice, minus 160, but that means we have a very good chance of winning this because it's like that. Now, Dalton Schultz in 15 games this year, he has stayed under 4.5 receptions in 11 of them, and in 10 of 13 CJ Stroud starts there. So that is only 23% of the time he's gone over this. So 77% of the time he stayed under this. And now he gets a matchup against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have allowed the fewest targets per game to the tight end position at 5.1 per game. And that's for 2 reasons. They get a lot of pressure, so they're 7th in pressure rate, and they play the most man coverage in the NFL. And what that'll do is that'll often mean he has to stay in a block a little bit more, or when he does go out for routes, he's being man-marked, so fewer targets. And that's why Cleveland's allowing the fewest targets per game to the tight end position. Dalton Schultz's target rate also goes down against man coverage. He has a 21% target per route run versus zone, but just 18% versus man. So I'm projecting 1 full fewer reception than this, which means I project this minus 275 as fair value.
Oh, well, you guys made fun of me because in our little production meeting in the war room with all the bettors capping all these props and whatnot, I said, I guess you're going with Schultz because of, and you guys were like, what? What are you going to say, you idiot? And I said, because the Browns, they cover the tight end well. And they're like, well, that's not the only reason, idiot. So I'm taking into consideration what happened before we came into this room and closed the door. Yes, obviously Cleveland is their second best DVOA defending the tight end position. Funny enough, Schultz, 11 targets, 8 receptions last time they played Houston, but not CJ Stroud. So before we move on to Chris Raybon batting last year, any objections from the two of you or a confirmation?
No, I like it because, Brevin Jordan's been eating in to Schultz's snap share the past 3 games. And Noah Brown and Robert Woods might return here, so that could eat into his target share. So I'm all aboard this.
I'm not a huge fan. Sorry, Nick. Just because I don't really want to be attached to any C.J. Stroud unders. I just feel like it. Number one, it's C.J. Stroud. Number two, it would just reduce my enjoyment of this game. So can't roll with you on that one, Nick.
I thought you loved unders.
I love unders, but C.J. Stroud's a different beast, man.
There you go.
You already know.
Well, look, there's a lot of talk about quarterbacks making their first start in the playoffs, but I would argue last week C.J. Stroud did play a playoff game against the Indianapolis Colts, being a win-in situation. So I have one to pick, and
Aren't you? Wait.
I know. I'm thinking. I'm trying to see if I can eliminate one here.
I thought we were
before I
doing
go to
3.
you.
Oh, you're gonna drop.
I'm
Okay.
Can you let me think out
No.
loud? Can you let me think out loud? All you do is want to talk. Go.
No, you're still eliminating one.
No, go, I'm not eliminating one. Go.
I think you need to eliminate now.
I was trying to think out loud and give the audience something of like, wow, I've seen 2 here. It's like taking the SATs. Like, oh, is there an auto one we can eliminate? Maybe the one that's moved by 10 yards? I don't know. But hey, you can go.
All right, well, Tim, and I just want to say, we don't think you're an idiot. We think you're our idiot. But I'm going with Damen Pierce under 10.5 rushing yards. And here's why. You mentioned it. Houston was already in a playoff type of situation in Week 18. In that game, Damen Pierce played precisely 0 offensive snaps, did not get a carry, obviously. And that's because he struggled in this new scheme. It's a completely different one than when he was a rookie and had that really great season. He hasn't averaged 4 yards a carry in a game all year. So when it became the most important time of the year, what did you see? Devin Singletary playing almost every snap, Ogunbowale in on 3rd downs. And you look at even the last 4 games, 3 of those 4, he's been held to 6 yards or less, even if you include the one game where he had 8 carries because it was a blowout. So I think that the Texans are looking at giving Pierce maybe 1 or 2 carries max. He's not averaging 4 yards a carry, so even if he gets a couple carries, you still have some outs here. But I really think the only way that we don't hit this is if maybe like the 2 to 5% chance that Singletary gets hurt. But if not, I think we're live not only to get under this number, but for a straight up goose egg. And Pierce plays on special teams, so most books you need to play at least 1 snap somewhere for action. But so it's good that he's taken over as the primary kickoff returner, and that's how they're kind of getting the most out of him. Remember, he got that touchdown a couple weeks ago, so don't expect to see Pierce on offense give me under 10.5 rushing yards. I would bet this all the way down to 6.5.
That's a cheeky point there with having to register a snap, playing special teams, and it's a good thing I waited for your pick because I think I might be going that way. If I just show you the process of elimination here, for Koerner, I can't endorse a pick that moved that far.
My bad.
I will try to get some value out of this though, and I'll ask you a question. In a line that moves that much, I've seen some theory that the line is still good until the number it essentially closes at. Once the peak it gets to is where it becomes dead. So. Do you subscribe to that at all when it comes to like a prop like this?
It's a case-by-case basis. When I gave it out at 29.5, I said, look, my projection right now is 38.5, and I'm assuming Amari Cooper, Cedric Tillman, and Marquise Goodwin would be 100% ready to go. So since I gave it out, Cedric Tillman's been ruled out. Amari Cooper, he's been limited in practice. His prop has been moving down, so I think he could be more of a decoy. So there's been more reasons to, move his prop up since then, so that's why my median has actually gone up 7 yards. So I'm still a fan of his over right now.
Fair enough. And then Nick Giffen to close out you. I'm very, very convinced on you project this as being a full catch under the number. Problem is, I worry about Houston being down in this game, having to throw more, and I worry about the fact that, look, I know it wasn't Stroud at quarterback when Schultz had a big game against Cleveland, but maybe Houston goes back and looks at that game plan and says, hey, Schultz, maybe we have to get involved. It worked against this Cleveland defense.
Or maybe Cleveland says, hey, we can't allow that to happen again.
Maybe. So Raybon, you're our winner here. And also, too, because I remember last wild card weekend, I think you had a Ray McLeod under, something that we all kept talking about, and it was a low number. So I want to try and go back to that well. So you are the winner for round 1 here. We're going to go with Raybon's prop of Damen Pierce under 10.5 rushing yards. Okay, top of the order, round 2. Let's do the same thing one more time. Sean Koerner, you're on the clock.
All right, I got a fun one. So this is who's going to lead wild card weekend in rushing yards. And I'm going Jamon Gibbs at 25-1. You can get this at BetMGM right now. So the 2 favorites for this market are Devon Achane and Kyren Williams. I would agree with that. Achane is the most explosive back in the league right now. could,
every time he touches the rock.
Yeah, could put up, 150 yards in limited carries. However, I think they're pricing it as if Raheem Mostert is out. So if Mostert's playing, that's going to lower his ceiling just a bit. And then, Kyron Williams, he's going to lead in terms of volume. But the Lions haven't allowed a single running back to rush for more than 70 yards on the year. So, I think this provides us a chance to take a long shot. And I think Gibbs has a massive ceiling. The Lions have really limited him, especially early in the season as, it's his rookie season. But they're in the playoffs. They're not going to hold anything back. And he's the kind of back that can, have a few explosive runs. So if he sees even more work on early downs, his ceiling is going to be much higher. I do like the matchup as well. The Rams allow 1.7 yards before contact, which is the 5th most in the league. Jahmyr Gibbs, when he sees at least 2 yards before contact, he's averaging 9.5 yards per rush, which ranks 6th in the league. So I think, he's going to have room to run here. This is a great spot for him. I think his ceiling is much higher than 25-1 to lead the weekend in rushing yards. And so I'm projecting this closer to 14-1.
Yeah, get the train going. How do you find a stat like that?
Research.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
Tim.
I tried.
Take note.
I use a legal pad here. I don't think
you have the internet on that.
I don't know. I don't know how to use the internet. I like the point about Gibbs there. He's explosive back. I think of him, in college, SEC guy, much like Achane, that if you just get the wheels going on this guy on an indoor, turf, get the motor going. So I'm going to take into consideration. And plus, 25-1. How can I not be interested in that? Okay, Nick Giffen, you're up next.
Yeah, well, I'm staying in the same game, and I guess this is technically kind of correlated. I'm going to take Jamon Williams under 2.5 receptions. You can get this at plus 124, so some nice plus money here. Tim, he stayed under in 10 of 12 games this year, under 2.5 receptions. 10 of 12. You do the math. That's 5 out of every 6.
Yeah, give me 1 sec here.
Yeah, it's like 83% or something like that. So now, to be fair, there's no Khalif Raymond in this game, and Sam Laporta is questionable, so that does leave a few more targets to go around. But even accounting for that, still getting under this number. Plus, recently, Jamon Williams has had a 66.7% catch rate. That is ridiculously high for a guy who's getting almost 16 yards of average depth per target. That should be more like 57% in that neighborhood. So he's like 10% over on catch rate, so that should definitely regress. Also, this matchup against the Rams isn't as good as it looks on paper. The Rams have been much better since their bye week, especially against the deep pass. They're allowing just a 38% catch rate against passes 15 yards or more downfield. So they've improved a lot. They've improved nearly 10% in that metric from pre-bye to post-bye. So I'm buying in on this Rams defense, a little bit of improvement, especially against the deep ball. So I've got Jamon Williams slightly favored to stay under 2.5 receptions. We're getting plus money.
Yeah, also note there, he is the highest drop percentage on the Detroit Lions, so over 17%. So even if they do get on the rock, I know you mentioned the catch number, but I guess over the season long, he's dropping balls. So Raybon, you're batting last. I won't confuse you by saying I'm going to start taking these into consideration. Just go. You're our caboose here.
All right, Tim. I'm going with Jared Goff under 1.5 rushing yards, but that number's way too high. Here's why. Look at his game log. Look at his game log. Hear me out. Look at his game log. Jared Goff, 0 or fewer rushing yards in 12 of his 17 games. He's run 31 times on the year. 60% of those runs, kneel downs. Guess who's favored in this game at home? The Detroit Lions. Guess who scrambles on 1% of his dropbacks? Jared Goff. What's he going to do? He doesn't want Aaron Donald chasing him around out there. Jared Goff's going to stay in the pocket. He's going to have guys open. This Rams defense, it's improved, but it's not that great. They still don't get much pressure, so Jared Goff not going to have to move around often. And again, 12 of 17 games, he has been not even under 1.5. 0 or fewer. So under a half yard, which is what I would actually bet the under on this number to.
Oh boy, a lot to consider here. Also, if you're to paint the picture of what that Jared Goff, those box scores look like over this 1.5 number in 5 of 17 regular season games in 2023, 4 times in negative digits, and like I said, 5 overs, and then 8 times goose egg, 0. So I also went back, I tried to do some research. I tried to use the internet. And I went back, I said, wait, did Goff at least rush a little bit when he was in the playoffs with the Rams? And yeah, it was a little bit more, but they also tended to rush more. He ran or scrambled more in the regular season as well.
Yeah.
So it was kind of correlation without causation, to throw some big words in there for you that I learned in early sociology in college there, Sociology 101. So as I think here, Koerner, the long shot, how can you not add that to your card, 25-1. Nick Giffen, I feel bad because in the happy hour show we do, I feel like I always stiff you and always say you're wrong. But that's actually a good thing for you because then it ends up working out well. And Raybon for you as well. I think of Tom Brady. I used to enjoy betting the Tom Brady over or under 1.5 rushing yards in the playoffs as well. I'm watching him, that one scramble or two that you'll see. So with that said, I'm going with Sean Koerner, 25-1. I don't know how you can't have something like that on your card. You know what? This guy understood the assignment. Give us something, long. Give us something that we can play throughout the week and have us watching. I'm sorry, Nick.
You tell me I didn't understand the assignment.
You did.
Hey,
Let's just point this out. In reception props this year, I'm hitting at like a 75% rate.
Well, that's good. You don't want me anywhere near this then. I will ask you guys this. So not last year, the year before, Koerner's prop to lead wild card weekend in rushing yards. Can you tell me, again, not last season, the season before, who led wild card weekend in rushing yards?
Leonard Fournette.
It was not Leonard Fournette. Anyone else?
Cam Akers, maybe?
No, this is what we're playing for right here,
Oh.
if anyone can get it.
Drawing blank.
The answer is Elijah Mitchell.
Ooh,
96
Never would've guessed
yards.
that.
So I don't have to give this up. I can keep it in my pocket. And that'll do it for us on Prop, Block It, Drop It, Wild Card Weekend. Excited to do it. Raybon's locked in, Koerner's locked in, and unfortunately, Nick Giffen was our guy that went 0-4. But again, that might be a good thing for him. Again, I locked in Damen Pierce under 10.5 rushing yards and Jamon Gibbs 25-1 to lead Wild Card Weekend in rushing yards. We will see you next time here to do the same thing again for the next round of the NFL playoffs and beyond.